Hello and welcome to Zero Cool Gaming and today's long play of Reckoning with commentary. So today I wanted to do a review of a game called Dungeon Siege 3.
The Kingdom of Ebb. For 400 years, we guided and protected our people. We gave them peace, prosperity, fair judgment. Some say it was the death of the old king that turned the people against us. But it was Jane Cassander who took up the sword and drove us from our chapter houses to states. I was not there for the final battle, when the last of our legion faced Jane Cassander beneath the boughs of an ancient, hallowed tree. Nor do I know what power she called upon in that forest to murder my comrades and friends. After that, the forest was changed, twisted and ruined. Only Jane walked out of that place alive. 30 years have passed since the Legion was destroyed, and Ebb has suffered in that time. War rages without end between Jane Cassander in the east and the royal...
Now, the story in this game, I absolutely disliked it. And the way that this game forces you to adhere to a particular morality, I also found very distasteful. The random loot system in this game, I do not like random loot systems or random item drops. There is a lot about this game that I do not like. I did play through it one time all the way, and I've had no desire to ever play it again. In fact, before I went to look up what this game was about again, I couldn't remember any of the storyline or what happened or anything else. I had black-holed the entire game. And I had done that for several reasons. One of the main reasons being is the way that the story is written and the lack of choice truly available within it. And I'll discuss a couple of parts of this game that show this in full display, and there's nothing that you can do to change it, alter it, or anything else. It truly does not give you the option to change these decisions, period. And that's the other thing that I really didn't like about this game, is that it tries to convince you that that the writer's sense of morality is correct in these cases, and I don't agree with his sense of morality because it's evil. And I don't, I believe that there are evil morals in this world. And just because you choose to believe in one of those evil morals does not make you righteous or moral in doing so. It just means that you've chosen to believe and adhere to something that is inherently wrong and does nothing, well, I should say, and the only purpose that it actually serves is to create more harm. That is what an evil moral does. It does not save or protect anyone. It just creates more harm. And yes, there are absolutely evil morals in this world that people choose to adhere to. And this game is an example of that as well. It is an example of a writer, or writers in this case, who have chosen to believe in what I would consider evil morals, and they try to force you to agree with their beliefs by not giving you a choice within game to change those beliefs or change the outcomes that they have determined will happen regardless of what choice you try to make. So, with all that stated, let's go ahead and get into the plot of this game. So this game starts out with a person called Jane Cassander going around and rallying troops and allies to destroy the Legion. And the reason that she's able to do this is because she found evidence that the Legion had killed the Empire's king. And she used that as a weapon against the Legion to paint all of them as bad people, even if they weren't. And if that sounds similar to something that's happened here recently, that's because it is. Abolish the police. Because of the actions of a few police officers, which in truth their actions weren't criminal in any way, shape, or form, a group of people within this country demanded that we defund or abolish the police because of this horrible action that they took. Therefore, all of them must be just as horrible. Excuse me, this type of logic is flawed, to say the least, and dangerous. It is a evil form of morality, because the only purpose that it will serve is to cause more harm. And in this game, it does cause more harm as a result of her actions. She goes around to the different places. She kills off the Legion in all the different towns that they are within, basically serving the purpose and the role of the police force. And even in towns where they surrendered and threw down their arms so that they wouldn't harm the public that they're supposed to be serving and protecting, they were killed anyway. Because, a few of you horrible, evil people did horrible, evil things, so therefore all of you deserve to die. Type of morality that I do not agree with at all. Period. And you start out the game as a survivor of the Legion hiding out, and you're found by mercenaries who have been hired to wipe out any remnants of the Legion that remain. You escape the situation, you go to another town, you meet another person who's also a Legionnaire. And this is a repeated theme throughout the story, where you'll find other Legionnaires like yourself, and you'll have to complete some quest for them to get them to join your group in the effort of reestablishing the Legionnaires. Essentially, whatever class you don't choose at the beginning of the game, you will eventually meet up with all the other character classes that are available. Like I said, you'll do a quest for them, and then they'll join the Legion. And that's the vast majority of this game. So let me go into the first example that I'm going to give of how this game gives you no choice. So if you accept a side quest which leads to a secondary side quest to go rid this manor of ghosts and goblins and creatures, you'll go there and you'll meet this young girl whose soul, after she died, was tethered to this house. Also, her father, when he died, his soul was tethered to this house, as well as a few other things. And the reason for all of this is because of a green artifact. I believe it's called the Heart of Nagog, something like that. That's in the vault. And your quests, as well as subquests, basically lead you to this artifact. And the only real answer you have to this situation is to destroy this green artifact. That's the only real answer there is in the entire game. You do have an option if you bypass certain boss battles and get to it before that boss battle to not destroy it, and then as long as you don't return to that room, you won't be told that you have to destroy it, basically, because that's the only option it gives you. But you can choose to leave it alone if you sequence break a couple of things within the game. And the reason that you would want to do that is because if you read all the books that are in the manor, you learn some lore that this green artifact comes from the swamp. It was stolen from the first people, and anybody with a decent sense of morality would realize that, hey, this is something that I should return to them, because these people had no right to steal it in the first place. That's never an option that you're given, by the way, even though it is something that a sensible person would come to the conclusion of if they're reading all the different books and lore that's laid around throughout this game. So I choose to sequence break the game and leave the orb there, thinking that I'll be able to come back later to collect it for another quest and return it to the first people who live in the swamp. Oh, how naive I am about how deranged and single-minded the writers of this game were. So you go on through the game, and eventually you do go to the swamp, and you find out that the first people are causing problems in the swamp, and this military and company can't get through the swamp because of it. They've lost some trackers out there in the swamp, and they give you a quest to go find them. You do finally end up at the village of the first people, and the only option, again, that you're given through all of this insanity is to fight the village elder and defeat him, and then for whatever reason, because it doesn't explain it, he'll allow your people to travel through the swamps uninhibited as a result of that, which makes absolutely no damn sense. And it never gave me the option to go find the artifact that was stolen and return it to him when you're talking to him. But I figured, maybe this is a hidden quest, whatever. So I go back to the mansion to try to recover this darn thing, and the only option it gives me is to destroy it. So you destroy it, you complete the quest that you could have completed a long time before, you get the experience for that and the, pickups for it. And you go back to the swamp, and again, obviously you can't turn anything into them because you just destroyed it. Again, this is a understanding that the writers of this game wanted you to come to, regardless of any types of morality that you yourself may have. How dare you, you horrible, evil human being. You're a racist bigot for daring to think that you should do something that we didn't give you explicit permission to do. Because we don't agree with that kind of morality, obviously. And that's not the only time that this game does that, where it only gives you one choice, period. And if you don't like that choice, too bad, we don't care. And that's their attitude. It is quite literally that, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it attitude. Or if you don't like it, don't play it attitude. That a lot of video game writers have expressed in recent years. And this game was my first experience with that insanity. Literally within the game itself. Which is why I didn't like it. I'm like, I don't agree with your sense of morality. I don't think that your sense of morality is correct. And I don't like the fact that you only give me one choice of a morality in your game, whether I like it or not. That just seems wrong to me on many levels, but regardless. So you continue to go on through the game, and you collect more characters, and you complete their side quests to get them to join you. You try to help some people out. You're given the option to make judgments over a few people in one town. You learn some pretty sick history about the realm and towns and people. You find that private protection has become a thing in some of these towns, because when you remove the police force, you will have criminal elements that will move in to close up the power vacuum that you created as a result of doing so. Now, while though the game does recognize to the most minimal extent that this is a thing that would happen, it goes out of its way to minimize the actual impact that such things would have. It's dystopian, it's lies, and again, I don't appreciate it. Because I know it's a bunch of lies. I know that's not how things would work out. I know that's not the reality of the problems that would be caused if you abolish the police. But again, this game doesn't care, and neither do the writers. They have prescribed to these lies that they've chosen to believe, and they believe them vehemently, religiously, and if you don't agree with them, then you're the bad person. Obviously. I mean, they've already made that decision when they started writing this insanity. So eventually you get to the point in the game where you're going after Jane Cassandra herself, because she herself has also turned into a dystopian nightmare of a leader, and is starting to make some really, not just authoritarian decrees, but damaging decrees. Decrees that actually harm the empire that she initially believed she was setting out to save. And there's a lot about diversity and inclusion in this as well. Hold on a second. One of the things that she does in her empire is she tries to force groups that are ideologically opposed to each other to work together in harmony and peace. Obviously, this doesn't, work out the way that she wants it to, but they minimize it to the point where, well, it's sort of working, so it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. Move along. The reality is that when you have factions within your empire that are ideologically opposed to each other, eventually that comes to a head, and a civil war is the normal outcome of such things. Yeah, I mean, this whole game is twisted in the wrong ways all the way through it. I truly wish that this wasn't what they had created, but apparently this is what they wanted. Now, one of the things that I found interesting within this game was, and there were parts of it that I found interesting, was the when you would go through different sections of the game itself, and the game would recommend that you take particular side characters with you. If you followed their recommendations, it made the next area a lot easier to get through. That in and of itself, I didn't hate. I thought that was actually a good thing for them to do, so that I didn't have to figure that out for myself. Choose the wrong character, start going through it, and then realizing, oh, I should have chose this character. Then you go back to your previous save, choose another character, and go through it again. I like that they at least told me which one would make it easier. That I did find helpful, because I would have done it anyway. I would have sat there and clicked through all of them until I found the one that I should have, or if I was capable of discerning which one I should have, then I would just use that character. And that's something that goes all the way back to Valkyrie Profile and Valkyrie Profile 2. There are certain Inherion and side characters that you should bring with you through certain areas to make those areas easier. It's just, I like that aspect of gameplay. But in reality, for most levels, you could just choose whoever, and it worked. So it's not like it was truly specific, except in very, it was like 6 or 7 different quests areas where choosing a particular person would make it easier. One of the things that I liked about Valkyrie Profile is, the amount of different characters that you would eventually collect, and then figuring out which ones you should really use for certain places. But anyway, so like I was saying, eventually you get to a point that you're going after Cassandra herself, and you've collected enough allies and Legion members to amass a pretty decent army to help you defeat the army that's protecting her. Now, once you defeat the army itself, she runs off to go back to these woods where this ancient artifact exists, and she tries to use that artifact to bring a particular species of people back to life, which it is capable of doing, but she had been using this device for quite a while to enact war and just have power, and as a result it corrupted the energies within it, and it started essentially rotting from within. So when she used it the last time, she basically killed the artifact in the process. And she, conjures up this ancient god that you have to defeat. You defeat it, and then you're given the choice of whether or not to let her live or kill her. Now, while this seems like a choice in the game, it actually is not, and I will explain what I mean by that later. But it truly is not a choice. The only choice that you actually have here is to kill her. And again, I do not like this form of writing in my games, period. Because I do not agree with the morality that they are using to justify their decision. I just don't. I find it to be flat out evil. These people believe in evil morals, and I do not accept or agree with those evil morals. So, I chose to let her live, and we put her, in chains or whatever, and take her with us. And then we go back to the, queen that we, put into power for the Empire. And she chooses to let her live, at the palace with her, blah, blah, blah. And they don't really treat her like a prisoner or anything else for the horrible things that she's done to the Empire over the years. And then the game tells you, people have a problem with that. And then the game tells you that, people went into her room one morning and found a noose around her neck and she was dead. Which is why I say the game doesn't actually give you a damn choice on whether or not to kill this woman. It doesn't. Whether you choose to kill her or not, the game kills her.
Kingdom will again become a training ground for a new generation of Legion mages. With the reopening of the Heroes Crypt, pilgrims returned to the Rukenval, and merchants followed. The following winter was harsh, just as Lazar Basili feared. But thanks to the trade from the south, the people of Ravensriel stayed warm and fed. When spring came, many more pilgrims arrived, and the town of Ravensriel grew wealthy again. Lazar and his people built a new stone wall around the town, and reclaimed their abandoned houses and farmsteads from the forest. It is a happy change of fortune for a long-suffering town. Queen Rosalind abandoned Glitterdelve, embarking on a tour of all the cities and towns of the West, meeting as many of her subjects as she could. The Queen showed all the energy of youth, and I think she fully expects to reunite the country in a matter of months, not years. Reality may not be so kind as Lord Devonsey has tried to make her understand. In truth, the future of this country depends more upon what we decide.
Regardless. Ha ha, hoo hoo, we don't care about your choice, we care about our morality. And if you don't like it, don't play it. Mentality. Everything about this I find wrong. Everything about this is just immoral as hell. And this is the first time that I realized that gaming was going downhill. Downhill in a really wrong way. Not just the fact that the gaming in this game in particular was a game made for everyone, meaning that there's literally no way to lose. It's also a game made with only one choice, regardless of the assertion that it tries to make throughout it that you have choices, because in truth you don't. No matter what you choose, it does what it's going to do regardless, and you might as well have just chosen to do that to begin with, because you would have gotten more for doing so than what you did. It's sick, it's twisted, it's wrong. It's leftist mentality on full display. Agree as we do, and agree with us, or you're the horrible, evil, racist bigot. Yeah, I don't agree with them. I don't think as they do, and I don't like their sense of morality. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. I hope you enjoy the rest of yours. If you could hit the like, subscribe, rumble, follow buttons, all that does help. And I'll talk to you later.